The first thing Alex Carter noticed about Norah 7 was the silence. It was not the peaceful silence of an empty place. It felt alive. The giant forest stood beneath a pale blue sky, stretching farther than any scanner could measure. Trees wider than houses rose hundreds of meters into the air, their dark branches joining high above like the roof of a forgotten world. Thick roots covered the ground, glowing faintly under soft blue moss. There was wind in the forest, but Alex could not hear it. There were birds somewhere above him, but they made no sound. Even the small group of explorers walking behind him seemed afraid to breathe too loudly. Alex stood at the edge of the forest and looked into the darkness between the trees. For the first time since landing on Norah 7, he understood why so many explorers had refused to enter this place. "Stay inside the marked zone," Commander Reed said through the radio. His voice was clear but serious. "Nobody moves alone. Nobody follows an animal. Nobody touches anything unless the science team approves it." Alex smiled slightly beneath his helmet. Those rules were exactly the kind that made him want to break them. He was 28 years old, human, male, and one of the best scouts in the Galactic Exploration Fleet. He was not the strongest soldier in the fleet, and he was not a famous scientist. His real talent was much simpler. Alex noticed things other people ignored. He saw broken branches, strange footprints, and small changes in the ground. More importantly, he was willing to go where other people stopped. Norah 7 had been discovered only 6 months earlier. At first, it seemed like a normal planet. It had breathable air, clean water, forests, mountains, and a climate close to Earth's. Then the first exploration drones sent pictures back to the fleet. The animals were wrong. Not dangerous, not strange-looking. Wrong because they looked familiar. Wolves had been seen moving through the forest. Foxes had been recorded near rivers. Deer had appeared in open fields. Large birds similar to eagles flew above the trees. And the biggest surprise was a creature that looked almost exactly like a brown bear. Scientists had checked the recordings again and again. Earth was on the other side of known space. These animals should not have existed here. Evolution could create similar creatures, but this was too close. The wolves had the same body shape. The foxes moved in the same way. Even the birds made nests that looked almost like those found on Earth. Nobody had an answer. That was why Alex and his team were there. The expedition moved slowly beneath the first line of trees. Commander Reed walked near the center with 2 armed guards. Behind them came the science team, carrying scanners and small floating drones. Alex stayed near the front. His job was simple: find a safe path, watch for danger, and report anything unusual. After only 20 minutes, he found something unusual: a wolf. It stood on a thick root about 50 meters away. Alex raised one hand, and the team stopped. The wolf was large, gray, and powerful. Its fur moved softly in the cold air. A white scar ran across one side of its face. It looked directly at Alex. Nobody moved. One of the guards slowly lifted his weapon. "Don't," Alex whispered. The wolf did not growl. It did not show its teeth. It simply stared at him. Then Alex noticed movement behind it. Another wolf appeared. Then another. Soon, he could see at least 8 wolves standing between the trees. The science officer, Maya, spoke quietly through the radio. "They are surrounding us." "No," Alex said. Commander Reed looked toward him. "What do you mean?" Alex watched the animals carefully. "If they wanted to surround us, we wouldn't see them all." The wolves turned at the same time. Then they began walking deeper into the forest. Maya looked at Alex. "They're leaving." "No," Alex replied. "They're going somewhere." Commander Reed's answer came quickly. "And we are not following them." Alex nodded. "Of course." The team continued in the opposite direction. For the next hour, Alex said nothing. But he kept seeing animals. A fox watched them from a fallen tree. A group of deer stood in the distance. High above, a large owl sat on a branch, its silver eyes following every movement below. Every animal seemed to be doing the same thing. Watching. Then leaving. Always toward the deeper forest. Alex checked his scanner. The marked route continued east. According to the mission map, they would reach a river in another 2 hours. The forest to the north was marked as unexplored. The drones that had entered that area had either stopped working or returned with damaged recordings. Alex looked north. That was where the animals were going. He had spent years as a scout. He knew when his instincts were warning him about danger. But he also knew something else. Curiosity could be just as powerful as fear. He remembered his father's words from when he was young. A map only shows the places somebody has already survived. Alex had liked that idea. Maybe too much. The expedition stopped for a short break beside a group of giant rocks. Commander Reed ordered the team to remain close. Alex sat on a root and pretended to check his scanner. Then he looked toward the north. A small fox stood there. It was red and white, almost exactly like an earth fox. It stared at Alex for several seconds. Then it turned and disappeared between the trees. Alex slowly stood. His location beacon was attached inside his suit. Every explorer carried one. If he went missing, the fleet could find him from orbit. He touched the control panel. For 3 seconds, he hesitated. Then he switched it off. A warning appeared inside his helmet. Location signal disabled. Alex smiled. Scout Carter. Commander Reed said. Status. Alex began walking. Checking the area, he answered. Stay within visual range. Understood. He walked around a giant tree. The moment he was hidden from the others, he ran. He moved north through the forest, jumping over roots and pushing through long blue plants. His heart beat faster, but not from fear. He felt more awake than he had in months. Behind him, his radio suddenly came alive. Alex, Maya's voice said. He kept moving. Alex, your signal disappeared. He ignored the message. A minute later, Commander Reed spoke. Scout Carter, respond immediately. Alex stopped beside a huge tree and looked back. Nobody was following him yet. He pressed the radio button. I think I found something. What? Reed demanded. Alex looked ahead. The forest was changing. The blue moss had become brighter. Strange white flowers grew between the roots. He could see a narrow trail through the trees, even though no human had made it. I'm not sure yet, Alex said. Return to the team. Alex started walking again. Negative. There was silence on the radio. Then Reed shouted, Negative? What do you mean, negative? Alex smiled. I mean, I'm busy getting lost. Carter. But Alex switched off the radio. Now he was alone. Or almost alone. A low sound came from the trees. Alex stopped. The scarred wolf stood ahead of him. 2 more wolves appeared behind it. Alex slowly lowered his hands. His weapon remained in its holder. He had no wish to fight them. The old wolf looked at him for a long moment. Then it turned and walked away. Alex followed. The journey lasted nearly an hour. Sometimes the wolves disappeared, and Alex thought he had lost them. Then one would appear again farther ahead. They moved through places where a human would never have found a path. They crossed a shallow stream glowing with silver light. They passed beneath roots taller than buildings. Once, Alex saw an enormous owl fly silently from one tree to another. Finally, the wolves stopped. Alex stepped around a wall of roots and froze. Before him stood the largest tree he had ever seen. Its trunk was so wide that his scanner could not measure the full distance around it. Its roots rose from the ground like giant walls. Between 2 of those roots was a dark shape. A doorway. It was not natural. The stone around it was smooth and black. Strange symbols covered its surface. The doorway was almost hidden beneath vines, as if the forest had spent thousands of years trying to keep it secret. Alex walked closer. What is this place? Alex whispered. The wolf gave no answer. Then a deep sound came from inside the doorway. Alex's scanner flashed red. The stone door began to open. Dust fell from above. Darkness waited on the other side. And from somewhere deep inside that darkness, Alex heard a sound that made every thought disappear from his mind. It was a human voice. Come in, Alex. Alex's hand moved slowly toward his weapon, but he did not run. He had turned off his beacon. He had left the safe route. He had gotten lost on purpose, and standing before a door that should not exist, with wolves from another world watching him in complete silence, Alex Carter knew he had finally found exactly what he came looking for. Something nobody had ever mapped before. Alex stood before the ancient doorway for several seconds without moving. The human voice inside had spoken his name clearly. That was impossible. Nobody on Norah 7 knew he had come this far. His team was far behind him. His location beacon was turned off, and according to every official record, no human had ever entered this part of the forest. Yet the voice had said, "Come in, Alex." The scarred wolf stood beside the doorway, watching him with calm yellow eyes. The other wolves waited behind Alex, silent and still. For a moment, Alex considered turning around. He could go back, switch on his beacon, tell Commander Reed about the strange door, and return later with soldiers, scientists, scanners, and enough equipment to study everything safely. That was the smart choice. But Alex had never become a scout by always making the safe choice. He looked at the darkness beyond the doorway and took one slow step forward. The moment his boot crossed the entrance, the wolves moved behind him. Alex quickly turned. The scarred wolf was following him inside. "You too," Alex whispered. The wolf did not react. Alex smiled. "Fine. Stay close." He activated the small light on his suit and walked deeper into the ancient structure. The doorway led into a long stone passage beneath the enormous tree. The walls were covered with symbols, but Alex could not understand them. Some looked like stars. Others looked like animals. He saw shapes that resembled wolves, bears, foxes, birds, and deer. He also saw something that made him stop. A human hand. Alex raised his own hand beside the carving. It was almost the same size. "That can't be a coincidence," he said quietly. The scarred wolf walked ahead. Alex followed, keeping one hand close to his weapon. The passage continued downward. Strange blue lights slowly appeared inside the walls, waking one after another as he passed. His scanner was still flashing warnings. Unknown energy, unknown material, unknown technology. Alex had seen alien ruins before, but this place felt different. It was old, yet the lights worked perfectly. Dust covered the floor, but there were no broken machines or fallen stones. It was as if someone had built this place and simply walked away, expecting to return one day. Alex reached a large chamber. The ceiling was so high that his suit light could not reach the top. In the center stood a circular platform surrounded by black pillars. Symbols glowed across the floor. Alex stepped closer, and his scanner suddenly shut down. His helmet lights went dark. For one frightening second, everything became completely black. Then the chamber came alive. Blue light rushed across the floor. The pillars began glowing. A deep mechanical sound filled the room. Alex pulled out his weapon and aimed into the darkness. "Show yourself," he shouted. A bright light appeared above the circular platform. It grew larger until Alex had to raise one arm to protect his eyes. Then the light changed shape. A man appeared inside it. Alex froze. The man looked human. He had dark hair, a serious face, and wore a suit unlike anything Alex had ever seen. It was old-fashioned, but not ancient. Alex stared at the image. "Who are you?" The image did not answer immediately. It looked directly at him. Then the same voice spoke again. "If you are hearing this, you have reached the first chamber." Alex slowly lowered his weapon. "A recording," he said. The man continued speaking. "If you are human, then the door allowed you to enter. If you reached this place by following the animals, then they trusted you. And if you came here without being forced, then you have passed the first test." Alex looked toward the scarred wolf. "Test." The wolf remained silent. The image continued. "My name is David Carter. I was once an explorer from Earth." Alex's eyes widened. "Carter." The image flickered. "I know what you are thinking. You are wondering if we are related. The answer is probably yes." Alex took a step backward. His family name was Carter, but it was common enough on Earth. Still, the man's face seemed strangely familiar. The shape of his eyes, the small scar above his eyebrow. Alex had seen that face before, not in person, but in an old family photograph. His grandfather had once shown him a picture of his own father, a man who had disappeared before Alex was born. Alex moved closer to the image. David Carter disappeared 112 years ago. The recording remained calm. "Then time passed differently where you came from." Alex felt cold despite his suit. He wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but the image continued before he could speak. "I was part of an early human mission. We discovered an unusual signal beyond the known systems. We followed it. That was our first mistake." Alex listened carefully. "Our ship found a region of space that did not exist on any map. There was no star, no planet, only a strange opening. We thought it was some kind of natural energy field. We were wrong. It was a doorway." Alex looked around the chamber. "A doorway between worlds." "Yes," David said. "My team crossed it. Only I survived." Alex looked at the wolf. The animal was staring at the recording as if it had heard the story many times before. David continued. On the other side, I found Norah 7. At first, I thought I had returned to Earth. The forest looked familiar. The animals looked familiar. But nothing made sense. Wolves existed here. Foxes existed here. Bears existed here. Creatures from a world that had never touched this planet were already living in its forests. Alex remembered the animals watching his expedition. They had not behaved like normal wildlife. They had been studying the humans. Who brought them here? Alex asked, even though he knew the recording could not answer him directly. As if it had expected the question, David said, "That is what I spent years trying to discover." The blue image changed. Above the platform appeared a map of stars. Alex saw Earth on one side. Then he saw Norah 7 far away, separated by an impossible distance. Between them were countless small points connected by lines. This is not one universe, David said. It is part of a network. Alex stared at the map. What kind of network? A network of doors between worlds. Alex's heart beat faster. Different planets? Different realities. The words filled the chamber. Alex could barely breathe. He had come to Norah 7 expecting an unexplored planet. Instead, he had found evidence that countless universes could be connected by ancient gates. The image changed again. This time, Alex saw the forest. Thousands of animals moved between giant trees. Wolves, deer, foxes, birds, bears. The animals are guardians, David explained. They were brought here long before humans discovered space travel. I do not know who built the network, but I know someone trusted these creatures to protect it. Alex looked down at the scarred wolf. And they're testing humans? David's image nodded. Not humans alone. Every intelligent species that discovers Norah 7 is watched. Most fail before reaching this chamber. Alex frowned. How? They try to control the forest. They hunt the animals. They destroy what they do not understand. Others are too afraid to leave the marked paths. Alex smiled slightly. So I passed because I ignored orders? You passed because you chose the unknown. Alex could not argue with that. Suddenly, his radio made a loud sound. Alex jumped. The radio had been dead since he entered the underground chamber. Commander Reed's voice burst through the speaker. Alex. Alex, respond. Alex pressed the radio button. I'm here. There was a long silence. Then Reed shouted. Where the hell are you? Alex looked around the ancient chamber. That's a difficult question. Your beacon is off. We have been searching for you for 2 hours. Alex checked the time. He had not realized how long he had been gone. I'm safe. Turn on your beacon immediately. Alex looked at the image of David Carter. I can't. Why not? Before Alex could answer, every light in the chamber suddenly turned red. A loud alarm began echoing through the underground structure. The wolves behind Alex immediately stood and growled. The scarred wolf lowered its head. Alex raised his weapon. The recording of David flickered violently. For the first time, the calm face in the image looked serious. If this alarm has activated, David said, then someone has found the planet. Alex looked at the glowing red symbols. Someone who must never reach the network. Commander Reed's voice came through the radio again. Alex, we've got unknown ships entering the atmosphere. Alex felt his stomach tighten. How many? Reed paused. Too many. The floor shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere above them, a deep roar passed across the forest. The scarred wolf howled. A second wolf answered. Then another. Within seconds, howls rose from every direction. The sound spread through the forest like a warning traveling from one end of the world to the other. David's image began fading. Alex, listen carefully, he said. The animals will lead you. Follow them. Who are these attackers? Alex asked. But the image was disappearing. And Alex, David said, his voice becoming weaker, do not let them reach the heart of the forest. Then the chamber went dark. Alex stood in silence. Above him, another distant explosion shook the ground. His radio filled with confused voices from the expedition team. The scarred wolf turned toward the passage. It looked at Alex once, then began running. Alex did not know where the wolf was taking him. He did not know who was attacking Norah 7. He still did not understand how David Carter had survived. The howl of the scarred wolf led Alex through the underground passage like a warning from another age. He ran behind the animal as the red lights flashed across the black walls, and every few seconds the ground shook hard enough to send dust falling from the ceiling. Somewhere far above them, enemy ships were landing in the forest. Alex did not know who the attackers were, how they had found Norah 7, or why they wanted this hidden place, but he knew they were coming for the ancient network. The message left by David Carter had made that much clear. Alex jumped over a broken section of the floor and followed the wolf through a narrow opening in the stone. 2 other wolves appeared from another tunnel and joined them. Soon there were 5 wolves running ahead of him, each moving with perfect speed through the darkness. Alex had followed animals before during survival training on Earth, but this was different. These wolves knew exactly where they were going. They were not escaping the danger. They were leading him towards something. "I really hope you have a plan," Alex said between breaths. One of the wolves looked back at him for a moment. Alex shook his head. "Of course you don't understand me." The wolf gave a low sound and continued running. Alex smiled. "Or maybe you do." The tunnel suddenly opened into a steep path leading upward. Cold air rushed down toward them. Alex could see moonlight ahead. He climbed quickly, grabbed the roots hanging through the stone, and pulled himself out of the underground passage. The sight before him made him stop. He was no longer in the same part of the forest where he had entered the ancient doorway. The trees here were even larger. Their branches formed a dark ceiling high above the ground, while blue and silver lights moved across the trunks like living stars. A glowing river flowed between enormous roots, and on the other side of it stood a group of deer. Alex stared at them. There were at least 20. They looked almost exactly like deer from Earth, except their antlers gave off a faint white light. Every one of them was facing the sky. Alex followed their eyes. Through a small opening in the branches, he saw black shapes descending through the clouds. Enemy ships. There were more than 10 of them. Long, narrow vessels moved silently through the blue sky before bright engines flashed beneath them. Alex watched one ship pass over the forest. It was larger than any exploration vessel he had ever seen. "Reed wasn't joking," Alex whispered. A loud explosion suddenly came from far away. Birds flew from the trees in a dark wave. The deer moved immediately. The wolves began running again. Alex followed. They crossed the glowing river on a natural bridge made from the roots of 2 giant trees. The deer ran beside him for several minutes before moving ahead and disappearing between the plants. Alex began to notice something strange. The animals were gathering. Foxes moved through the undergrowth. Owls sat high above the trail. Small groups of deer appeared and disappeared in the distance. Alex even saw a large brown shape moving behind the trees. It stepped into the moonlight, and Alex stopped for half a second. It was a bear, a huge one. The creature stood taller than Alex when it rose onto its back legs. Its fur was dark brown, and its eyes reflected silver light. It looked directly at him. Alex slowly raised one hand. "Hello." The bear lowered itself and walked away without attacking. "This planet is getting stranger every minute," Alex said. Suddenly, his radio made a weak sound. Alex quickly pulled it from his suit. "Alex," Maya's voice came through. The signal was full of static. "If you can hear me, answer." Alex pressed the button. "Maya, I hear you." Her voice returned almost at once. "Thank God. Where are you?" "Still lost. This isn't funny anymore." Alex looked at the wolves running ahead. "I know." Maya was silent for a moment before speaking again. "The enemy has landed 3 teams near our position. Commander Reed moved us into the rocks. They have scanners. They are searching for something underground." Alex's face became serious. "How close are they?" "I don't know, but they're asking for you." Alex stopped. The wolves stopped too. "Me?" "They intercepted our communications. They know a human scout disappeared." "Alex, what did you find?" He looked around at the silent forest. He wanted to tell her everything, but he was not sure the enemy could hear the transmission. "Something old," he said. "Very old." Another explosion shook the ground. Maya's signal broke apart. "Get back here. Don't know if..." "Soldiers moving." Then the radio went silent. Alex tried calling her again. Nothing. He lowered the radio and looked at the scarred wolf. "They know I'm here." The wolf stared at him. Alex looked toward the direction of his team. Every instinct told him to return and help them, but the wolves were leading him away. David had said to follow the animals. Alex had no idea why. Still, he trusted the strange feeling inside him. "Lead the way," he said. The wolf turned and began moving again. Alex followed deeper into the forest. This time, the journey was slower. The animals were no longer running. They were careful. Alex kept his weapon ready as he walked through thick blue plants. The forest became quieter. No birds moved above him. No insects made sounds. Even the glowing river had disappeared behind him. Then Alex saw the fox again. It stood on a fallen tree ahead of him. Red fur, white chest, sharp eyes. It was the same fox that had watched him before he left the expedition. "You started all this," Alex said quietly. The fox jumped from the tree and disappeared into a narrow gap between two enormous roots. The wolves followed. Alex squeezed through after them. On the other side, he found a hidden valley. He stared in complete surprise. The valley was full of animals. Hundreds of them. Wolves stood on the rocks. Deer gathered near a small lake. Foxes moved between bushes. Bears stood beneath the trees. Eagles sat on branches above the valley, their large wings folded against their bodies. Owls watched from the shadows. Alex had never seen so many different animals together without fighting. But none of them looked afraid of each other. They all seemed to be waiting for him. Alex slowly walked forward. "Okay," he whispered. "Now what?" The scarred wolf walked to the center of the valley. Alex followed it. In the middle of the open ground stood a stone covered with glowing symbols. As he approached, the light became stronger. Alex placed one hand near the surface without touching it. His scanner suddenly came back to life. A holographic map appeared above his wrist. "What?" Alex stared at it. The map showed the entire forest. Small points of light appeared across it. One red point showed his current position. Another red point appeared far to the east. Then another. Alex realized what he was seeing. Enemy forces. The map showed their movements. But there was more. Beneath the forest, thin lines spread in every direction. Ancient tunnels. Hidden chambers. And near the center of the planet, far deeper than the first doorway, was a massive circular shape. Alex felt his heart beat faster. The heart of the forest. The wolves watched him. The map suddenly changed. A new message appeared. Human access accepted. Guardian network active. Alex read the words twice. Then a new image appeared. David Carter. This recording was different from the first. It looked older. The man's face was tired, and behind him Alex could see a room filled with machines. "If you reached the Guardian Valley," David said, "then the first door has already been discovered by an enemy." Alex looked toward the red points moving through the forest. "That's happening right now," he said. David continued. "There is something you must understand. The animals are not prisoners here. They are not experiments. They are descendants of creatures brought through the network long ago. Over thousands of years, they became part of Norah 7. The network chose them because life understands life better than machines do." Alex looked around. The animals remained completely silent. "They are the guardians," David said. "They know the hidden paths. They can sense the movement of the gates. And together, they can protect this world." The image changed. Alex saw a large door beneath the forest. "But they need help." Alex frowned. "Why me?" David looked directly toward him. "Because the guardians can protect the forest. Only humans can make the choices the forest cannot make." Alex did not fully understand. "What choices?" The recording went silent for several seconds. Then David answered. "The dangerous ones." The image disappeared. At the same moment, a powerful roar came from the trees above the valley. Every animal reacted. Wolves growled. Eagles spread their wings. The deer moved their young toward the lake. Alex raised his weapon. A strange sound came from the western edge of the valley. Branches broke. Heavy metal footsteps moved closer. Alex looked at the holographic map. 3 enemy signals had reached the valley. "They're here." The animals began moving. Alex watched in surprise as the wolves disappeared into the shadows. The foxes rushed into the thick plants. The deer ran toward the far side of the valley. The bears moved behind the largest trees. For 1 second, the entire valley seemed empty. Alex looked at the scarred wolf. "What about us?" The wolf gave a low growl. Then 3 armed figures stepped between the trees. Alex immediately understood that they were not human. They were tall and thin, wearing black armor that covered their bodies from head to foot. Their helmets had no visible faces, only a narrow strip of red light. Each carried a long weapon. Alex ducked behind the glowing stone. The scarred wolf disappeared beside him. The first enemy soldier walked into the valley and pointed a scanner toward the ground. Far beneath the oldest trees of Norah 7, something ancient continued to wake, and Alex could feel it even before he saw the place where the heart of the forest was hidden. The ground gave off a soft vibration under his boots as he moved through the dark forest with the scarred wolf at his side. Hundreds of animals were spread around him, but they made almost no noise. Wolves moved silently between the roots. Foxes disappeared beneath thick plants. Deer traveled along narrow paths that Alex could barely see, and large eagles flew high above the trees, watching the enemy from the sky. Behind them came the giant bears, moving slowly but powerfully through the forest. Alex still could not believe what was happening. A few hours earlier, he had been part of a normal exploration mission. Now he was traveling through an alien forest with an army of Earth-like animals, while enemy soldiers searched for a doorway connecting different universes. He checked the holographic map on his wrist again. The red enemy signals were moving quickly toward the center of the forest. Some had stopped, but more were arriving from the landing ships. "They're bringing everyone in," Alex whispered. The scarred wolf looked at him. Alex pointed at the map. "Bad people. Big problem." The wolf stared at him for a second, and Alex gave a tired smile. "Yeah, I know. You probably understood none of that." Suddenly, one of the eagles cried from high above. Every wolf stopped. Alex looked up, but the thick branches blocked most of the sky. Another cry came from farther ahead. The scarred wolf immediately changed direction. The entire group moved east. Alex followed without question. David Carter had told him to follow the animals, and so far that advice had kept him alive. After nearly 30 minutes, the forest changed again. The giant trees became closer together. Their roots rose from the ground like walls, forcing Alex through narrow spaces where he had to turn sideways to pass. Strange symbols appeared on the trunks. At first, Alex thought they were natural marks, but as he came closer, he recognized the same symbols he had seen inside the underground chamber. Wolves, bears, birds, stars, and human hands. Alex stopped beside one of the trees. A large handprint had been carved into the bark. Under it was another symbol that looked like a circle with a line running through the center. His wrist device suddenly lit up. Human path detected. Alex frowned. Human path. The scarred wolf began walking forward. Alex followed until the roots opened into a narrow stone road hidden beneath the trees. It was almost completely covered by moss, but it was clearly not natural. Someone had built it. The animals moved onto the road as if they had used it many times before. Alex stepped forward and felt a strange coldness move through his body. His helmet lights flickered. For 1 second, he saw something in front of him that was not really there. A man was walking along the same road. He wore an old exploration suit and carried a weapon. Alex stopped so suddenly that the wolf nearly ran into him. The man turned. It was David Carter. Alex raised his hand toward the image, but it disappeared. "Was that another recording?" he whispered. His wrist device displayed a new message. "Memory trace active." Alex looked around. "Great. Now the forest has memories." He continued down the stone road. As he walked, more images appeared. David was there again, but this time he was not alone. Alex saw 5 other humans walking with him. They looked scared and tired. One carried a damaged scanner. Another was injured. Alex understood that he was watching part of the old expedition. The images moved ahead of him like ghosts. David suddenly stopped in the memory and looked toward the trees. The other humans raised their weapons. Wolves appeared from the darkness. Alex watched his ancestor slowly lower his weapon. He stepped toward the wolves instead of attacking them. The image faded. A new message appeared. First choice recorded. Alex understood immediately. The ancient network had been watching David just as it had watched him. David had passed the first test by choosing trust over fear. Alex looked at the scarred wolf beside him. "Did you know him?" The wolf stopped. Its old yellow eyes met Alex's. For the first time, Alex wondered how long these animals truly lived. Maybe the wolf was not the same creature David had known. Maybe the forest had simply passed memories from one generation to another. Or maybe Norah 7 followed rules that humans did not understand. The wolf turned away and continued walking. Alex followed. The stone road ended at a cliff. Beyond it was a huge valley covered in silver mist. Alex walked carefully to the edge and stared downward. In the center of the valley stood a structure larger than any building he had seen on Norah 7. At first, it looked like a mountain, but his scanner showed straight lines beneath the moss and stone. It was a massive circular machine buried inside the earth. Hundreds of giant roots wrapped around it. At its center stood a black ring nearly 200 meters tall. Alex felt his mouth go dry. The main gate. The wolves stood around him. The foxes watched from the rocks. The eagles circled above the valley. Alex looked at the ancient structure and understood why David had been so afraid. This was not a small doorway like the one beneath the giant tree. This gate was large enough to send armies through. It could connect worlds, maybe universes. If the enemy controlled it, there was no telling what they could do. Then Alex looked at his map. The red enemy signals were already near the bottom of the valley. They're ahead of us. The scarred wolf growled. Alex quickly studied the area. There were several paths down, but all of them were open. If he led the animals directly into the valley, the enemy would see them. We need another way. A fox suddenly ran past him and disappeared beneath a pile of roots. Alex watched it go. The fox appeared again farther down, standing beside a dark opening. Alex smiled. Of course. He followed the fox, with the wolves and other animals moving behind him. The opening led into a narrow tunnel beneath the cliff. Alex had to bend low as he walked. The bears could not enter, so they remained outside with several wolves and deer. The smaller animals followed Alex through the darkness. After several minutes, the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber overlooking the valley. Alex carefully looked through a crack in the stone. Below him, he could see the enemy. At least 30 armored soldiers were spread around the giant gate. More were arriving. Strange machines were attached to the black ring, and several soldiers were digging around the roots. Alex activated his scanner. The enemy commander stood near the center. Unlike the others, this figure wore silver armor. 2 large guards stood beside him. Alex zoomed in and listened to their translated communication. The human was here, one soldier said. The silver-armored commander replied. Then he is useful. Alex frowned. Useful? Another soldier asked. Should we capture him? No, the commander answered. Follow him. The forest does not trust us, but it trusts the human. He will lead us to what we need. Alex slowly lowered the scanner. His face became serious. They had used him. The fight at the Guardian Valley had not been only to find a hidden route. They had known he would move toward the heart of the forest. Every decision he had made since then had brought them closer to the gate. Alex felt anger rise inside him. Clever, he whispered. The scarred wolf looked at him. Too clever. Then his radio suddenly activated. Maya's voice came through, weak but clear. Alex, answer. He immediately pressed the button. Maya, are you okay? For now, we escaped the first attack. Alex closed his eyes for a moment with relief. Where are you? Commander Reed is leading us toward your last known direction. We found one of the enemy devices. Alex, listen carefully. We discovered what they are. Alex looked down at the silver-armored commander. Tell me. Their name is the Veer. They are not here to study Norah 7. Their ships carry soldiers, mining equipment, and something worse. What? Maya hesitated. A dimensional stabilizer. Alex looked toward the black ring. They want to activate the gate. Yes, but our scans show the gate is damaged. If they force it open, it could create a massive dimensional break. Alex looked at the roots wrapped around the machine. What happens then? We don't know, but the energy could destroy the planet. Alex's hand tightened around his weapon. Below, the Veer soldiers continued working. He could not let that happen. Can you stop them? Maya asked. Alex looked at the animals around him. There were only a few wolves inside the tunnel with him, several foxes, and 2 owls sitting silently on a stone. I have an idea. Maya became quiet. I don't like the sound of that. You never do. Alex. He smiled. I'll call you back. Before she could answer, he ended the transmission. Alex crawled away from the opening and studied the tunnel. It led to several smaller passages. One moved toward the left side of the valley. Another went beneath the gate. The holographic map showed that the ancient tunnels were connected directly to the structure. We can get under them, Alex whispered. The scarred wolf gave a low sound. Exactly. He began moving through the lower tunnel. The wolves followed. Alex had no idea how he would stop 30 enemy soldiers, but he had spent enough time in dangerous places to know that numbers did not always decide a fight. Surprise mattered. The forest mattered. And the enemy had made one important mistake. They believed Alex was alone. The tunnel grew warmer as they moved deeper. Alex soon reached a small opening beneath the ancient machine. He looked through it and saw thick roots growing around old metal walls. Blue light was the first thing Alex saw when he opened his eyes, but it was not the warm light of Norah 7's blue sky. This light came from 3 pale moons hanging over a forest that seemed to stretch forever. Alex lay on his back in wet grass, unable to move for several seconds as pain rushed through his body. His ears were ringing, his suit was damaged, and every muscle felt as if he had been thrown against a mountain. For a moment, he could not remember where he was. Then he saw the sky, the unfamiliar stars, and the giant trees rising around him. Alex suddenly sat up. The gate. He looked around quickly. The scarred wolf was lying a few meters away. Alex crawled toward it. Hey, come on. The wolf did not move. Fear hit Alex harder than the storm had. He placed one hand near the animal's neck and felt a pulse. You're alive. Alex let out a breath. The wolf slowly opened its eyes and looked at him. Alex laughed with relief. You scared me. The wolf stood unsteadily, shook its body, and looked around the new forest. Alex followed its eyes. Everything was wrong again. The trees looked similar to those on Norah 7, but they were even taller, with silver leaves glowing under the moonlight. The ground was covered in soft black moss. Small streams of blue light moved through the grass like water, though Alex could not tell what they were. In the distance, something enormous made a deep call. It sounded like an animal, but Alex had never heard anything like it before. He checked his wrist device. The screen was cracked, but still working. Location unknown. Universe unknown. Gateway signal detected. Alex looked behind him. The gate was there, but it was not the same black ring he had seen on Norah 7. This one was broken. Half of it had collapsed into the ground, and blue energy flickered across the remaining section. There was no sign of the dimensional storm. There was no sign of the Vare soldiers who had been pulled toward it. Alex walked closer. David, he shouted. Only his own voice returned from the forest. He touched the old machine. Nothing happened. He tried again. The gate remained dead. Perfect, Alex said. I finally find my missing great-grandfather, and then I get thrown into another universe before I can ask him anything. The scarred wolf gave a low sound. Alex looked at it. Yeah, I know. Bad timing. Suddenly, a branch broke behind them. Alex turned immediately and pulled out his weapon. The wolf moved in front of him, teeth showing. A figure stepped between the trees. Alex froze. The man was old, but he stood straight. His gray hair reached his shoulders, and a deep scar crossed one side of his face. He wore an old exploration suit covered with patches and repairs. A strange rifle hung across his back. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the old man smiled. You always did have a dramatic way of arriving. Alex stared at him. David? The man nodded. Alex lowered his weapon slowly. You're really alive. David looked around. I prefer that answer to the other possibility. Alex took several steps closer. You disappeared 112 years ago. From your point of view. Alex shook his head. How old are you? David thought for a moment. That depends on which calendar you use. Alex gave him an angry look. Can you answer one question normally? David smiled. No. Alex almost laughed, but then he remembered the Vare, Norah 7, and the dimensional storm. What happened to the gate? David's smile disappeared. It opened farther than it was supposed to. Alex looked toward the broken ring. I noticed. The stabilizer failed, but the ancient system tried to protect itself. It sent everyone close to the gate through different exits. Alex's face became serious. Everyone. David nodded. Some of the Vare may have reached other worlds. Some may be dead. I don't know. Alex looked toward the forest. And Norah 7? David was quiet for a moment. Still there. But the gate connecting us to it is damaged. We cannot return through that one. Alex looked at the scarred wolf. Then how do we get back? David pointed toward the forest. By finding another gate. Alex stared at the endless trees. Of course. David began walking. Come on. We should leave before the night hunters find us. Alex quickly followed him. Night hunters? David looked back. I told you this universe was worse. They moved through the silver forest at a fast pace. Alex had many questions, but David spoke only when necessary. He clearly knew the land. He avoided certain areas, touched symbols carved into trees, and followed paths that Alex could not see. The scarred wolf stayed close to Alex. After half an hour, Alex finally spoke again. You said this is another universe. Yes. How many are connected to the network? I don't know. 10. More. 100. David smiled without looking back. More. Alex became silent. He thought about the gates, the worlds, and the possibilities. Humanity had spent centuries exploring stars, and believing space was the greatest mystery. But the real mystery was not only between planets. It was between realities. Who built it? Alex asked. Still don't know. You've been here for over 100 years, and you don't know? I've been busy surviving. Alex could not argue with that. They reached a high ridge as the sky slowly became brighter. Alex looked down and saw something that stopped him. Beyond the forest stood hundreds of stone arches. Some were small, some were massive. They stretched across the valley like the ruins of an ancient city. Inside many of the arches, strange lights moved. Alex's wrist device began flashing rapidly. Multiple dimensional gateways detected. Alex stared at David. That's the network. David nodded. One part of it. One part. Alex looked again. How many gates are there? David answered. Enough to make getting lost a full-time job. Alex smiled despite everything. Then a deep roar rolled across the valley. David immediately grabbed Alex's arm. Down. Both men dropped behind the rocks. The scarred wolf crouched beside them. Alex looked toward the forest. Night hunters? David whispered. Worse. Heavy footsteps shook the ground. Something moved between the trees below. Alex saw only a shadow at first. Then the creature entered the moonlight. It looked like a huge cat, almost like a tiger from Earth, but its body was larger than a truck. Black stripes crossed its silver fur. 6 eyes glowed on its face. Alex slowly reached for his weapon. David stopped him. Don't. It looks hungry. It always looks hungry. The giant creature lowered its head and sniffed the air. Alex held his breath. The scarred wolf remained completely still. After several long seconds, the creature moved away. Alex waited until the footsteps disappeared. You have some strange animals here. David stood. You should see the rabbits. Alex gave him a look. You're joking. David started walking. Mostly. They continued toward the Valley of Gates. As the sun rose, Alex noticed other animals watching them. Some looked like Earth creatures, but were slightly different. There were foxes with silver tails, deer with glowing antlers, and birds similar to eagles with feathers that changed color as they flew. Alex remembered Norah 7. The animals. David looked at him. What about them? Why are Earth like animals everywhere? David's expression became serious. Because Norah 7 wasn't the beginning. Alex stopped. What do you mean? David looked toward the gates. Long ago, the builders of the network moved life between worlds. Not only intelligent species. Animals too. Seeds. Plants. Entire ecosystems. They believed life should survive even if one world died. Alex slowly understood. Like backups. Something like that. And Earth animals ended up on Norah 7. Some did. Others may have existed in worlds connected to Earth long before humans understood what was happening. Alex looked at the wolf. So they could be from here? David nodded. Or Earth could have received life from somewhere else. Alex stared at him. That idea changed everything. Maybe humanity had never been as isolated as it believed. Maybe the universe had been connected long before humans learned to build ships. Suddenly, David's wrist device beeped. His face changed. We have a problem. Alex looked at the display. There. David nodded. A red signal was moving toward the gate valley. Then another appeared. And another. How? Alex asked. They must have been sent through another exit. David looked toward the arches. If they reach the network first, they can open a path back to Norah 7. Alex immediately understood. And their ships are still there. Yes. They can send an army. David nodded. Alex looked toward the scarred wolf. Then we stop them here. David looked at him carefully. There are only 2 of us. Alex smiled. And him. The wolf stared at them. David almost laughed. That is your plan. It's a beginning. They moved quickly down the ridge. Alex now understood why David had warned him. The gate valley was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. The Vare could appear from any direction. As they approached, Alex saw movement between the arches. He raised his weapon. 3 Vare soldiers were already there. One was examining a gate while the others guarded the area. David pulled Alex behind a broken stone wall. They don't know we're here. Alex looked around. Good. He checked his weapon. David did the same. I have a better idea, Alex whispered. David raised an eyebrow. Whenever you say that, should I start running? Probably. Alex pointed toward a group of fox-like animals moving near the valley. We don't attack the soldiers. Then what? We confuse them. The battle in the Valley of Gates had no clear beginning and no clear end. It was chaos from the first second, with Vare soldiers firing between ancient stone arches while animals from the silver forest attacked from every direction. Alex ran through the ruins with his weapon in his hands, keeping low as bright energy blasts passed over his head. The scarred wolf raced ahead of him, moving between broken stones so quickly that the enemy could barely follow it. David was somewhere to Alex's left, firing short, careful shots at enemy weapons instead of enemy bodies whenever he had the chance. Above them, giant eagles screamed and flew between the arches, forcing the Vare soldiers to look up while foxes rushed through their legs and stole small devices from their belts. Deer charged through the open spaces, breaking the enemy lines apart. From the forest came the deep roar of the massive bear-like creatures as they crashed into the outer group of Vare soldiers. Alex had fought beside soldiers before, but never like this. This was not an army. Nobody had given the animals orders. Nobody had trained them to follow commands. They were fighting because their world was in danger, just as the wolves of Norah 7 had fought when their forest had been threatened. Alex jumped behind a fallen arch as an energy blast struck the stone above him. Pieces of ancient rock fell across his shoulder. He quickly looked around and saw 3 Vare soldiers moving toward the active gate. "David," he shouted through his radio. 3 heading for the big gate. David's voice came back through static. "I see them." Alex waited until the soldiers passed the broken arch. Then he ran. The scarred wolf appeared beside him at the exact same moment. Alex fired at the first soldier's weapon, and the wolf jumped at the second. The third soldier turned and raised its weapon, but before it could fire, a silver fox leaped onto the stone beside it and made a loud, sharp cry. The soldier looked toward the animal for 1 second. Alex hit the weapon from its hands and knocked the Vare to the ground. "Thanks," he said to the fox. The fox stared at him, then disappeared between the ruins. Alex turned toward the gate. Blue light was still moving inside the massive arch. More enemy soldiers could come through at any moment. He had to close it. He activated his wrist scanner, but the damaged device gave him almost nothing. "David, how do we shut this gate?" There was no answer. Alex looked around. "David." Suddenly, an old rifle fired 3 times from somewhere behind the largest arch. Alex ran toward the sound. When he reached the other side, he found David crouched behind a stone wall. The old man looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "You look terrible," David said. Alex fired at a Vare soldier moving toward them. "You look older." David smiled. "That one was easy." Alex crouched beside him. "How do we close the gate?" David's smile disappeared. He pointed toward the center of the valley. "That is not the Real gate." Alex frowned. "What?" "It's an outer connection point. Closing it will only slow them down." Another explosion shook the ground. Alex looked at the hundreds of arches around them. "Then where is the real control?" David was silent for a moment. Then he pointed toward the forest beyond the ruins. "Somewhere there." Alex stared at him. "You don't know?" "I know where it should be." "That's not the same thing. I have been gone from this area for many years." Alex looked toward the trees. "And you thought now was a good time to come back?" David loaded his rifle. "I didn't exactly plan for you to open a broken gate from another universe." Alex sighed. "Technically, the Vare opened it." David looked at him. "Technically, you blew up the machine." Alex thought about it. "Fair point." Before either of them could move, a powerful roar came from the far side of the valley. Every animal suddenly stopped. Even the Vare soldiers turned toward the sound. The silver forest became silent. Alex slowly stood and looked beyond the trees. Something enormous was moving there. Branches taller than buildings bent and broke. The ground shook beneath his feet. David's face became serious. "That's not good." Alex looked at him. "You say that a lot." A massive creature stepped out of the forest. It looked like a bear, but it was far larger than the brown bears of Norah 7. Its shoulders rose above the broken arches. Silver and dark brown fur covered its body, and strange glowing marks ran across its face. It stood on 4 powerful legs and stared directly at the active gate. Every Vare soldier aimed a weapon at it. David quickly grabbed Alex's arm. "Don't let them shoot it." Alex looked at the creature. "Why?" "Because that is a guardian." Alex turned toward him. "Another one?" "The network has many." The creature moved forward. The Vare commander shouted an order, and energy weapons opened fire. Alex immediately ran into the open. "Stop!" David shouted behind him, but Alex kept moving. The guardian roared as the first blast struck its fur. It was powerful, but there were too many weapons. Alex aimed at the closest Vare soldier and destroyed its rifle. The scarred wolf ran beside him. David began firing from behind the ruins. One by one, animals joined the attack again. Eagles dropped from the sky. Deer charged through the enemy line. The silver foxes rushed beneath the soldiers' feet. The giant guardian reached the active gate and struck the stone beside it with one enormous paw. The ground exploded. Blue energy flashed across the valley. Alex was thrown backward and rolled across the grass. When he looked up, he saw the guardian standing beside the gate, but the arch was still active. The Vare commander had moved away from the battle. It was standing near a small black device connected to the ground. Alex recognized the shape immediately. A stabilizer. David, Alex shouted. They have another machine. David heard him and looked toward the commander. Then destroy it. Alex started running, but 6 Vare soldiers moved between him and the device. Alex stopped behind a broken arch. He had one weapon, limited energy, and no clear path. He looked toward the scarred wolf. Any ideas? The wolf stared at the enemy. Alex looked at the foxes moving through the grass. Then he looked at the deer. Finally, he looked toward the giant guardian. A small smile appeared on his face. David saw it from across the valley and immediately looked worried. Alex, what are you thinking? Alex pressed his radio. You said I needed to get organized. David waited. Yes. Alex looked at the battlefield. I think it's time. He climbed onto a large stone and activated the strongest sound signal in his damaged suit. A loud human whistle cut across the valley. For a second, nothing happened. Then the scarred wolf looked at him. Alex pointed toward the left side of the enemy line. Go. The wolf ran. Alex pointed toward the deer. Now. They moved almost immediately. He did not know if the animals understood his gestures or simply understood his purpose, but suddenly the battle changed. Wolves began attacking from the left, forcing the Vare soldiers to turn. The deer charged from the right. Eagles dropped from above. Foxes ran behind the enemy line toward their equipment. The giant guardian moved forward, making every Vare soldier in the center step back. Alex ran straight toward the stabilizer. You're insane, David shouted through the radio. Alex smiled. That's how you know it's a human plan. A blast struck the ground beside him. Alex jumped over a broken stone. Another blast came toward him, but the scarred wolf attacked the soldier before it could fire again. Alex kept running. The Vare commander saw him coming and raised its weapon. Alex fired first. The commander's weapon fell from its hands. Alex hit the ground and slid behind the stabilizer. He looked at the machine. Its dark surface was covered in glowing symbols. His scanner gave him one clear warning. Dimensional network link active. Of course, Alex whispered. He placed his hand near the controls. A message appeared. Central access required. Human genetic access accepted. Alex froze. What? The stabilizer suddenly shut down. Every Vare soldier stopped moving. The ancient gates around the valley began glowing at once. One gate opened. Then another. Then another. Alex stared as the entire valley filled with light. David ran toward him. What did you do? Alex slowly looked at his hand. I didn't do anything. A deep voice came from everywhere at once. It was not human. It was not a machine. It sounded like the forest itself was speaking through the ground, the trees, and the ancient stones. Human traveler identified. Alex turned slowly. Okay. David looked upward. That's new. The voice continued. Guardian network active. The Vare commander rose from the ground and stared at the gates. No. Its translated voice whispered. Alex looked at it. What? The commander stepped backward. For the first time since Alex had met the Vare, he saw fear. The voice spoke again. Unauthorized force detected. Every active gate changed color. The blue light became brighter. Wind rushed across the valley. Alex understood what was about to happen. They're being sent back. David nodded slowly. Or somewhere else. The Vare commander looked at Alex with anger. You do not understand what you have awakened. Alex smiled. Neither do you. The commander shouted an order, and the remaining Vare soldiers tried to run toward the forest. But the gates reacted before they could escape. Beams of light surrounded them. One by one, the Vare disappeared. The silver-armored commander was the last to remain. It stared at Alex across the ruined valley. This is not over, human. Alex looked at the active gates surrounding them. No, it probably isn't. The light